morning, everybody. So before we get started, who knows what BYOD is? Raise your hand. Okay, good. How many of you are subject to a BYOD program at your employer? Yay, okay, a couple. Okay, well, hopefully this will be somewhat enlightening for everyone this morning. We're going to talk about sort of best practices, what drives the adoption of BYOD, and risks and policy considerations that we all need to be thinking about as the lawyers in the room. All right. So nice. All right, so let's start with drivers for BYOD adoption. I'm going to allow Susan, our technology counsel, to sort of speak to sort of what initiates generally the adoption of BYOD as a corporation.
Sure. Can everybody hear me? Okay. How many of you have clients who are looking at a BYOD plan for their company? Anybody out there? Okay. Well, what this really goes to is the business case your clients make for implementing BYOD, and for a lot of technology law, we have to take into consideration all the business drivers that are both the customer satisfaction, the productivity, the efficiency drivers, and also the expense reduction. If you look at the adoption rates here for some of these mobile devices, and a lot of the desktop computers, I mean, I don't know how many people have laptops at their desk today, but a lot of corporations have gone to that model. So this is really more an expansion of mobile device use in a laptop. But you'll see the tablet adoption is at 54%, smartphones are at 33%. The prediction really is in the next 2 years will be between 50 and 70% to a forced BYOD program in corporate America. So whether your clients have it now, you can expect they will probably have it within the next 2 years, and it would be mandatory. So understanding the drivers and then the risk and policy considerations that counsel have to bring really to the business so they understand the consequence or risk is really important.
Absolutely, and I would just add to this, generally the employees are very, very happy with BYOD because they get to select their own technology. That's generally pretty important to employees these days, and that, in my experience, has been sort of what drives folks towards the BYOD is the fact that they can choose their own technology, an iPad or a MacBook or, you know, the iPhone or whatever the choice may be. And it's sort of become an expectation from an HR perspective and sort of a perk of employment to be able to do so.
Carrie, one thing to that point, on the expense and the technology support, consideration for corporate BYOD and the device choice aspect is going to turn on the support available for those various devices in the technology department. So it's very common for corporate technology to support operating systems rather than specific devices, so that whether you have an older iPhone or an older Android device, your employees understand they're choosing between operating systems, not their specific favorite model of phone.
All right. You want to talk about reimbursement?
Sure. A lot of corporations don't offer reimbursement for BYOD. That trend is changing. We had a new precedent in California here just this, I guess, soon to be past month. The point to note really about the Schwann's Home Service case is it goes to the assumption that corporations have that when your employees have a flat rate or, you know, a standard data plan, that there is no reimbursement that's appropriate because the employee was going to be paying for their own plan anyway. This case really kind of flips that over for corporations in California and said that you're going to be paying a percentage of that data plan. So you really do have to look at the documentation you put around the business case for metrics and additional performance hours you're expecting out of your associates, because that then becomes what's used for the pro rata reimbursement if you are in California. So you go to the performance Business case, Intel did a study, said we expect about 4 hours more productivity per associate if we can provide them a mobile device. Obviously, if we do that for cheaper, there's a margin of expense reduction for the corporation. But a lot of the initial business case documentation comes back around in litigation like this. So it's important, and again, we stress, and obviously we have technology counsel in the legal department and in technology so that we are engaged on new implementation so that we understand not only the thought process behind the program, but we can hopefully protect some of the documentation in case reimbursement comes back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that reimbursement is an incentive to the employees to, adopt BYOD. Again, many companies don't do it. It's probably about 50%, I would say, for smartphones. But it's definitely something to take into account and something that you would need to consider when you start developing your policy around it. All right. You want to do this one? Okay. So this slide is about a case with IBM last year. They engaged a research company to perform a financial analysis on one of their customers' BYOD programs. So they did a 3-year look back for this particular exercise. And you can see the assumptions here with the number of devices. For year 1, they had 9,000 devices, and then they did a sort of a slow rollout. And year 2, they had 11,000, and year 3, they had 12,500. And they looked at basically every factor, cost and benefit-wise, to the company for the adoption of BYOD. So they considered not only the reimbursement, but they also considered the extra productivity, extra hours that their employees could work if they had their own device. And you can see the numbers here are just staggering. The cost, obviously, went down to the company because the employees were no longer using corporate liable devices, but the benefits were just astounding. So the net here over the 3 years was figured to be about $50 million. So a huge technology expense reduction, and again goes back to the driver, and that's sort of what initially kicks off this sort of theme at the big corporations particularly. It starts as a technology expense reduction sort of project, and then people start seeing this HR benefits and the like.